Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing a much requested special review that I really want to do, and that is of Watchmen. Published by DC, but it is a standalone comic. It does not take place in DC continuity whatsoever. This is one of the greatest, if not the greatest graphic novel of all time, a staple in comic book history. It is ranked in the 100 greatest novels of all time. So that's how good it is. Now, if you guys someone asked me to actually tell you everything you need to know about Watchmen, every twist and turn, everything about the characters, and I basically just said to them, no. It's impossible. I couldn't do it. No one could. You have like 3 hours, you couldn't do it. It's impossible. I mean, first of all, look how thick it is. There's just so much depth to each and every character. And this comic book is so great because it's just such a psychological study of every single character. I mean, it is just beautifully done, the character development. It's all character development. There is action in it, but it's more character development. Now, this takes place in an alternate America in 1985, where superheroes are really kind of commonplace. But because of an act, and I believe it's called the Keene Act, superheroes are now outlawed. This was created by Richard Nixon, who is still president for some arbitrary reason. Anyways, there are 3.5 superheroes that are still currently active. And I say half because one of them's in and out, and the other one's illegal, and only 2 of them are really official. The first one would be the Comedian. The Comedian is killed right away in the book, so, you know, you should, right away you'll find that out. The Comedian is a very controversial character because he sees the world as it is in the darkest sense. So he really reflects the world in the darkest sense. And he says that's the big joke. The world is a joke. The Comedian really doesn't have a superpower, but he's incredibly fit. He's like 60-something years old when he dies, and he's still more jacked than anyone else in the world. He's an incredible, great hand-to-hand combatter. He can beat the shit out of anyone, and he's great with any kind of weaponry. So the Comedian is just an all-around fighter. He's a very dark character and very controversial. In the beginning you'll like him, and then you'll hate him, and then you'll like him, and then you'll hate him, and then you'll come to understand him towards the end. The next government-funded superhero would be Dr. Manhattan, which is that big blue jack celestial glowing thing with his schlong hanging out. Now, he has actually superpowers, and he's one of the few characters that actually have legitimate superpowers. Of course, his superpowers are godlike, and he can create things and destroy things and change matter. He's a very interesting character because he sees the world in a very unique sense from the perspective of a higher being and a god. A lot of people like him. He's a nice character, and he's just pretty cool. Now, here's the superhero that's kind of in a half. That would be the Silk Spectre. She is the daughter of the original Silk Spectre. She, as far as I know, has no superpowers whatsoever. She's just really well trained. She's allowed to be a superhero, but she doesn't. The only reason why she's allowed is so that she can keep Dr. Manhattan happy, because they're currently in a relationship in the beginning of the book, although that dissolves and she moves on. Now, next would be Rorschach, and I hope I say his name right, because I'm horrible with pronunciation. He's a very great character. He's probably tied for my favorite character in this book. He doesn't have superpowers either, but he's an incredibly great combatant. And the thing about him is he has a legit split personality that kind of merges into one personality. Sounds crazy? Yes, I know. He has his normal personality, and then he has his superhero personality. But they're really separate from each other. He's very, very out there and crazy. He fights for the side of good, but he does go to lethal force, and, you know, one scene he just goes up to someone and breaks their finger, keeps on breaking their fingers to get information. So, he's pretty cool. I love him. He's probably tied for my favorite superhero in the book, and that would come to my other favorite superhero, and that would be the Night Owl. Now, Night Owl, like the rest of them, really doesn't have superpowers. He's very well trained. He's very smart. He's kind of a play off the Blue Beetle, where he has a lot of gadgets, he has a big floating ship. I really like the Night Owl because out of all superheroes, he's really the most genuine. He's the one that actually wants to be a superhero for the right reasons. Even though it's for that he can feel good about himself, he actually does it for the right reasons. He has an interesting, you know, complexity to him because there's one part where he can't get an erection when he's normal, alternate identity, but once he puts the mask on, he can actually sustain an erection. Kind of weird, but that's just to show you how complex his character is. There's one more character in this, and his name is Ozymandias, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He is an amazing character, and actually I have to say he's up there with my favorite characters too. He doesn't play a major role in the beginning, but his role really starts to play out towards the end. He's considered the smartest man on Earth, mainly by the media, but he deserves it because he's ridiculously smart. He looks like he's about 30 years old, but he's actually well in his 70s, I think. He's in excellent physical shape. He can, do gymnastics. He beats the shit out of everyone. He's just such a smart character. So that's a major cast. I mean, there's some minor heroes in there and some other characters that play in, but that's a major class. And they're pretty dynamic characters. They're very psychologically unique, and there's a lot of character development to them. Now, in this book, Russia and America are kind of bumping heads in the Cold War, and they're on the verge of World War III. In addition to that, because the comedian was killed early on in the book, Roshan thinks that there's a mass killer going around. And he goes to warn everyone about it. Now, certain events take place that support his theory, like certain heroes getting exiled, or certain heroes getting arrested, etc., that support his theory. In the end, everything comes together, and the ending is very satisfying, but at first you may not like the ending. You have to really read the ending twice to really get it and to respect it, because in this book, nothing is black and white. There is no real good and evil. There's really just the gray area, and the ending is very gray. At first I disliked the ending, but actually I came to love it at the end because it's really satisfying. It's just how it defines the graphic novel. Now, I could keep on blabbering on about all the stuff that's in this, but I'm going to leave you with that because that's information that you basically need. I highly suggest picking up this graphic novel. It's a staple in comic book history, and for just a pure literary value to it, it's just fantastic. I mean, even someone that doesn't read comics can pick this up and think it's amazing. However, I do not suggest it to younger readers. The reason why is because, first of all, there's a lot of complex, different angles in this that they may not necessarily understand or be able to relate to whatsoever. I believe older readers and adults will actually relate to this book better and understand the concepts in this book better. That in this book is very dark and very gory. There's one scene where you actually see a dog's head split open. So it can be pretty harsh that way. I even felt a little uncomfortable at first. Eventually you get used to it, but I mean, it can be a very dark book. I suggest anyone that hasn't gotten into comics yet or trying to get back into comics, read this, and this will really open up your view of comics. But I do not suggest it to younger viewers. As much as the younger readers, as much as the younger readers may like it, it will come off as very dark and very complex. You can pick it up for $20. Of course, online I think you get it for like $10, so might as well go for online. It is thick. It will take you a while to read, so I suggest you read maybe an issue a day or whatever, or if you have time, just sit down and read it off. But it's a fantastic book, great character development. I highly suggest reading it, especially if you want to see the movie, which looks fantastic. I suggest reading this first because you'll understand the movie better. Okay? With that said, I'm going to end the review here. Definitely pick this up. Definitely. If you're a fan of comic books and you haven't read it, or if you're trying to get into comic books, or if you are trying to get back into comic books, this is where you should start. And from there, go whatever direction you want. With that said, bye, Watchmen. You will not be disappointed. This is Skyline, so I'm going to say peace out for now.